You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Check, check, 1, 2. Look like a little country, some rock and roll and blues. 'Cause we sure love playing for good people like you. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.
Welcome to Music Local and Sustainable, the radio show that features discussions with and the music of local musicians. I am your host, Dave Lake. Tonight, in the studio, we have Stephen Baumgartner, better known to local music fans as Basik Lee. Basik Lee performs both as a solo artist and with the band Ambrose. Welcome, Stephen Baumgartner, Basik Lee.
Thank you for having me.
When I think of your music, I'm really drawn between two different aspects. One I'll call hip-hop.
Yes.
And one I'll call soul R&B.
Yeah.
Are those accurate descriptions?
Yeah, those are accurate.
The hip-hop voice is a very socially progressive voice. And
Thanks.
I jump right to the plan.
Gotcha.
And that is a extraordinary statement of reality that a lot of people don't realize, as in the line, once you see through the vapor, you can understand the plan.
Yeah.
And you talk about, for those of us who are stuck in the game, we don't know who to call.
Yeah.
But for those who run the game, it's just ordinary.
Yeah.
It's their usual way of doing stuff. Where did that come from? What was the origin of that?
A lot of it came from growing up with my dad, seeing corporate life. And my dad and my older brother really were about corporate life. And seeing how, with that and things around my way growing up in New Jersey, those who are in positions of power, when things seem to go wrong, they just don't worry about it because it's almost planned that way. Those who are affected, it's always just, well, how and why, and like whether it's dealing with problems with work or even just like things with government, dealing with police. Everybody is involved who is considered not in that small group that we would consider that 1% or upper class. There's a lack of empathy. And that's pretty much where a lot of the song The Plan spawned from. You think that these, specifically financially and structurally, things that happen around you that cause you pain that aren't well thought out or planned, but actually they are. And that's more of my aim with that, was just like, you think that, people have your best interests in heart when really it's more of a financial game.
Yeah, honestly, it's all about the profit.
Pretty much.
Now, was this directed specifically at like financial institutions or all types of companies?
It was pretty much all types of companies. I didn't want to make it very specific because it becomes to the point where it's not, I guess, relatable. There's things I've specifically dealt with that sometimes I get into, but with this song, because of how it was structured, I felt like it's better to give you enough to get to your own conclusions, but be able to actually see the plan. You're not the only one dealing with this. Everybody who is considered outside of this small group deals with it. There's a whole plan going on right now. All around you. Word. The funny thing is, you don't even know about that.
the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, are all in cahoots, putting together a little paper to cover you with the cloud. But if you can't see through the vapor, then you finally understand what's the plan, my man. I'm like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, are all in cahoots, putting together a little paper to cover you with the cloud. But if you can't see through the vapor, then you finally understand what's the plan, my man. There's been a collaborative effort that's been mastered, perfected to make sure you don't look to your mind and start asking a question. And the culprits involved are protected by laws written by a small collective at the top who are never expecting to fall with their secretive meetings, and lies to those considered outside of it. Use whatever method within the collective to make sure to hide it. Smiling quick with the lies that they spit to the news reporters, all the while spreading viruses through your food and water. I'd say it's a new order, but really it ain't new at all. Just an old game being played. The only change who's involved. It's making it hard to know what's going on or who to call, leaving all of us who feel stuck in this game with no clue at all. For those who's supposed to be running this game, this is ordinary. For those of us who are stuck in it, this is more than scary. It's a frightening trap that makes it hard to relax, while the other side got you believing there's no need to even fight back. Convincing you where they work for. Whatever product you create will be worthless compared to the product that they provide that will be better for you to purchase. They're earnest and honest about being all about profit, and anybody talking outside of that is just talking nonsense. They want infinite growth within limited resources. That with the mind that touches people when life just seems lonely within the selective. Really, only the money's respected, no matter how much damage is done, no matter who is affected. It's a method that's been used like so many times. And I get shocked when people don't see it right before their eyes. So I decided to get on the mic and explain some things and shine on light on those chilling in the shadows trying to play the game. So when you notice this method, you'll be given a sight to see past the board when you know it ain't right. And know that your life is worth more than whatever they hand you. And when they try to set a trap, you see the plan through. Avoid the bullshit and lies when they present themselves, knowing that these cats is really out to amass they wealth. So I'm hoping that these words will help you pursue your dreams and not get caught up in all the traps and the schemes set by the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, are all in cahoots, putting together a little paper to cover you with the cloud. But if you can't see through the vapor, then you finally understand what's the plan, my man.
When I see a lot of things in the news, I go right back to the song.
Thanks.
And because only the money is respected, no matter how much damage is done and who is affected.
Pretty much. It's to a point where those who are even affected by it still chase for it because they feel as though that's the only solution, because that's the only solution that has been presented. That unless you get into this special club, you're not really worth anything. The only double-sided thing about that is you'll never be allowed in that club. That's not a club for those outside of it. It's like you're supposed to be outside of it.
It's a plea. I was just about to say it was a plea to wake up, but that's citing another song. So we'll get to that other song later on. But in this case, it's a plea to, as you said, get rid of the vapor.
Yeah, it's a plea to get rid of the blinders. You've been fed this information, but the ones who are feeding it to you are those who benefit from what you do based off of it. So knowing you are being fed it helps. It's like if you don't know, when people present something to you, like I've dealt with it in my personal interactions with people when I present a completely different train of thought than they're used to, it's like, but why? And looking at it from just the bottom line, money-wise, it's a painful thing to understand. When explaining things to businessmen, they get real idealistic. And businessmen don't understand. We're trying to bring hope and blah, blah, blah. They understand money. The bottom line, what social or financial benefits will they receive from this? So if there's no social or financial benefits, you're speaking to a brick wall. And that's kind of where this song and many of the songs I wrote stem from, is just running into that brick wall. And like I said, my father and my brother deeply in corporate life, and they would both explain things to me that I was just like, oh my God. It's been interesting, to say the least.
So you come from a family that is part of what you're railing against in this song.
Pretty much. I respect my father for what he did for himself, because he was somebody who grew up in the hood, just took odd jobs and worked himself up to being an electrician. And he was in the Coast Guard for a couple of years, and he became an engineer working on helicopters from there, and an electrical engineer. From that, worked himself up to working for pharmaceuticals companies, and then ended up becoming a supervising electrical engineer of a pharmaceuticals lab. And I always respected his drive, but I really didn't understand corporate life. It was one of those things where it just seemed draining and pretty much murdering of your own imagination and thought in certain aspects, or at least in the aspects that I watched with my father and my brother. And even me and my brother have talked about this recently. They both are very proud of me for what I do. I was actually shocked recently where it was a point where I did feel like giving up and just settling down, and my father, who's been corporate my whole life, was just like, no, you don't give up now. So it was just really shocking, but they didn't understand me doing this when I was younger. As I found my voice and was able to explain myself more, through my music, they started understanding. And it's things like that that make me feel like, all right, I'm not just throwing it at a wall, so to speak. So it helps.
So your brother is also in business?
Yeah. He's head of logistics out of South Carolina. He's been working for it for years, but he's always traveling, handling the logistics for the whole company. They just had a company open in Brazil and in South Africa. Even he tells me, he never gets into the details of it, but he tells me of how draining it is on him and how he's just like, it pays the bills, it's good money, it's good benefits. That's really the draw of the whole thing. Even my father would tell me, you go corporate so that your family's safe. Even if you open a business and somebody decides to sue you, it's not suing you, it's suing the business. But that gets into a whole nother discussion that makes it ugly. So, about the whole corporate equaling the same as human lives and all this other discussion. So that gets into other things. But yeah, I will say growing up with that, like, it's funny, and grew up with that, and around my way, mainly drug dealers, big time drug dealers. So seeing both kind of was like the same thing. Just made me realize like the difference between legal and illegal is just who is in a position of power. That's really what it comes down to in my mind.
And just perhaps like the major drug dealer does not really give much consideration to the person who's on the street corner.
Yeah.
Likewise, as you said here, your life is worth whatever they hand you.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're speaking about the people working in the companies too, not just the people having to deal with the companies from the outside. Those who don't know the game and don't know who to call.
It's like even
people
those
working on the inside.
Even people who are working on the inside still aren't privy to full information unless you're in the top ranks. There are people in this country who work on making missiles and bombs. It's nothing against them. It's a job. When you have no other resources in your neighborhood and this is the only source of income, it's like when people look at drug dealers and they're like criminals, and I'm like, if this is the only source of income that they witness in their neighborhood, you really can't get too frustrated unless you understand the social and economic situations that they're dealing with. So yeah, even the people within the companies, sometimes it's a lack of empathy when it comes down to it, and just wanting to believe you're doing right. But we all love to believe we're doing right. It's like, it's not until we cross the lines do we actually see the effect of it. I will say that's one of the major things my father did teach me growing up. And don't get me wrong, me and my father don't agree on lots of things and don't get along that much, but there's things he's taught me over the years that really have stuck. And one of them was, years back I was all about solar energy and all this other stuff, like really trying to push it, and he was just like, what's going on? And he's just like, well, it's like that, I gotta find another way. And he was just like, yeah, it's good you're doing this, son, because if you don't, your children's children will pay for air. Father's very straight with me. I love him for that. But right after that, he would say, it's good that you look at for solutions, but when you look for a solution, make sure it's not just a solution for yourself, but anybody that it affects. And it makes me look at things when people throw out solutions. I'm always like, all right, how is this affecting everyone? How is it in the long ball? you can never know exactly what's going to happen. You can always just hope for the best. And I try to do that with my music. It's just like, I could be completely wrong in what I'm saying sometimes, but I'm going to throw it out there and hope for the best, just based off of the information I do have.
Your family is generally very supportive in terms of your music, music career.
They're all very supportive of my music career. They worry about my financial being, but that's always family. They're always worried about you. But as for my music career, yeah, they're all extremely supportive of my music career.
Now, have they heard songs like The Plan?
Oh yeah, like I let my family hear everything I do. It took a while for my father to get used to it because he never listened to hip-hop at all. So after a while, he started listening to me and he was like, oh, okay. And it made him start listening to other stuff. Yeah, I let them, no matter what I'm talking about, it's songs that my friends have joked with me about. Like I had a song when I first did my first album called Keep Smoking. That was just about weed. They were like, oh, I bet you won't let your family hear that. And I'm like, look, it's gonna be heard sooner or later. I can't hide these things, especially with the internet and everything. So if I'm gonna be putting out something, I'm gonna know that when I put it out, all of my family is gonna see it, and I have to accept fully what I'm saying. Like, shoot, it's worse because like my family's the least of it when it comes down to it. It's people who don't know me who make crazier statements.
What do you mean, people who don't know you make crazier statements?
It's something my mom always would say. She's like, if somebody's gonna fight with you, you better hope they love you, otherwise they might seriously hurt you. But there's songs or statements I've put out that always there's gonna be someone who's speaking in opposition. And I might be saying something, but you might be taking it the wrong way. And that's happened a couple of times with songs that might have been a joke to me, or just statements that out of context were taken the wrong way. And that's usually not my family or anything. Like, they might every once in a while be like, hey, what was this about? But it's never as taken out of context of those who are just introduced to it. But that's something that every artist deals with. When you put out your work, to the public, you're subject to public opinion. So most of it has been, well, almost all of it, it's just been small parts that have been negative. But for the most part, been getting lots of good responses over the years.
The progressive message of your rap songs particularly, I find very uplifting, very challenging, very provocative.
Thank you.
But that's what it should be. But again, that's my bias.
I guess when I look at my rap songs, like, honestly, I always joke because I was like, I never wanted to be a rapper. This was the last thing I thought I'd be. I honestly thought I was going to be more in production and making, like, instrumentals and beats and music for people and writing. And I would make beats and I would get frustrated with rappers. Just be like, this is all you could come up with? This is all your imagination makes out of this? And that's kind of where it stemmed for me, just me being like, no, it should be like this. Just kept going with it and kept getting better with it, and then finally being like, well, you've done this for so long, you are a rapper. Take this seriously. And from there, just trying to push myself as an artist and what creatively I could do.
Tonight, in the studio, we have Stephen Baumgartner, better known to local music fans as Basik Lee. Well, you've had experience as a producer.
Yeah.
I'm specifically referring to Dope Sandwich Productions.
Oh, yeah. Dope Sandwich, that was a collective. It was a lot of us. We put together a good couple of albums, went on tours. It was a lot of fun. We did a lot of good stuff over the years. Pretty much that's where I learned a lot and grew as an artist with everybody. It was just about 8 rappers, DJs, producers, breakers. It was about a crew of 30 of us at one point. And we all just fed off of each other's energy and off of each other's ideas. And through that and the local music scene, it just kept growing and growing. There were other hip-hop groups around the time that were doing their thing too, and it was really a beautiful thing to see, like, everybody just pushing, and yeah, I can't say enough about it.
Well, for those listeners, you have to remember this is all forms of music.
Gotcha.
Could you talk about rappers, DJs, and breakers, and what all these folks are? Who are these folks?
Hip-hop in its origins had 4 elements, and that's the MC, DJ, graph artist, and b-boys. The first element was graffiti. It was the writers, and that pretty much were the guys around town. They would just tag their names or everything around town, and it was more like in places where they felt like they had no voice. This was like advertising. It was like, we are here. And the more your name got up, the more popular you became, and the crazier places you were able to do it, like places people didn't think. From there, you went to the DJs, and DJs were just the ones who controlled the sound and the feeling of the night. Like, they created the groundwork for what would be the MCs and the breakers. Like, actually, it goes graffiti artists, DJs, breakdancers, and then MCs. They were the last of it. And the breakdancers was the B-boys, the ones who danced on the breaks, who B-boys and B-girls, who got down when the DJ would just find that specific part of the melody and loop it, and that was the break. That was like the really crazy drum pattern, or like the one that just hit the hardest. And that's where you get the break dancers. And then the MCs first started off just being the ones getting the crowd hyped, like, hey guys, what's up, keeping them into it. And then from that led to people starting to tell raps, and that led into storytelling and rapping evolving over the years. Like, in the beginning, it was just a lot of fun party stuff, as it always started. Everything was just a fun party and people just trying to keep it going. And that led to the creation of what the culture is of hip-hop.
And interesting you say that, because a lot of people think of hip-hop as just the music.
Yeah, like,
it's much more than that.
Oh yeah, the culture of hip-hop. The music right now is the introduction, I feel, to people seeing the culture. I will admit, in the mainstream, you don't get really to see that much of the culture of hip-hop. But with all things, if you dig a little bit past the surface, you're bound to run into it. You know, there's pieces of it throughout everything. So it's a beautiful, beautiful culture. I would love for it to be fully represented outside of just the MC part of it. But that's really in the hands of those within the culture to find ways of making that happen. It's been happening a lot lately, and especially within town, those people who are really trying to spread that around. It's good stuff.
What are some of these parts of the culture that should be spread around?
Of course, the music always should be spread around more. I would love to see more hip-hop events in the area. Like, for example, I used to go to Florida and go to breakdancing competitions. That would be like 3-day-long competitions where they would have breakdancers from all around the tri-state. And it would be sponsored by like Red Bull, and they would have DJ competitions where DJs would scratch and MCs would battle each other, and it would all be friendly competition where there would be prizes and stuff like that. Those are things that show off the culture. Because there's lots of dancers here. If they had hip-hop dance competitions in town more, that were more publicized. I know they have them here, but I don't know in the downtown area. I haven't seen it as much. It's getting better than what it was, but it's a slow build. I would love to see, especially with SCAD being here, they have a legal wall. For example, University of Florida, where we would go down and have competitions, they have this one wall that's a legal wall for people to do murals, whether it's graffiti or paint. Just this one wall that is probably like maybe a mile long. With a major art college like SCAD and so many graffiti artists in town, I would think they would be able to do that. I was working with a company, AWOL, All Walks of Life. They're a nonprofit that taught inner-city and at-risk kids through art and music programs. They were working with this other company. They were trying to do legal walls around town, and they got maybe 1 or 2 before the city just shut it down. They actually just built in front of one of them and painted over it, and I was like, oh my God. But with such a big art school, I would think it would be something that would show more of the love for the art community, especially the hip-hop community. It's a big thing. I would like to see that, but that's another story of fighting the city.
Well, and the system too, because I don't remember a lot of graffiti artists as part of, say, Art March.
Yeah. I will say, on the other end of it, it's also a fight within the culture, just because with graffiti, it started off as such an illegal thing that it still has such a negative connotation that there are artists who still do it legally and illegally, and for them it's more of a danger for them to be doing this. But it's also a discredit to the culture, just because I feel it might be illegal, but the artwork that's created is so amazing. Like, there's a church between East Broad and Atlantic on Duffy that if you go behind it, the whole back of the church is graffiti, and they just let graffiti artists come through and just tag the back of it, and it's amazing work. And I feel like showing off these artists for what they do is also showing off love for the art community and showing the openness and the acceptability of the culture.
Now, one of the major criticisms of hip-hop, not that I'm voicing it, mind you, I'm simply repeating it,
Gotcha.
is that it glorifies the drug culture. It glorifies misogynist behavior.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
I respond by saying it could be at some point glorifying it, and then at some point exposing it. Just because this is something that people might think is not an everyday thing in certain areas, what I'm like, no, it is. And if this is everyday life, like, I went to a seminar once where one of the people there was trying to explain that they thought gangster rap should be excluded from all other rap and demonized and even made to the point of illegal. And I had to explain to them that you're talking about a bunch of kids who got in the studio instead of going on the streets and releasing their anger in a studio artistically and finding ways of, at least, it's truly therapeutic for these children to get rid of this anger in a positive way instead of going on to some street corner and actually doing these things to get them out of that system, to get them out of that structure. There's people who use it to get out of that structure, and there's some people who use it as just BS and just use it like the structure is. You're always going to have those who take advantage of certain situations. I ask people who have that feeling about hip-hop to dig deeper into the culture of hip-hop. Because honestly, if you only look at what's on TV or what you hear on the radio, you're not getting to hear the hip-hop culture. You're getting to hear mainstream music. Mainstream music is like mainstream entertainment and movies. When the last time you went to go see a movie that didn't have sex, drugs, and violence? Seriously, that's something that you'll find in all music and all art. If you went to a movie in the last couple of years that was just highly educational without any violence at all, I would love for you to tell me about it. It's just one of those things that you've got to understand. People are listening to it because it's entertaining. Just like you go to see a movie, or you watching Game of Thrones, or you watching like any of these other shows where there's lots of violence and blood and sex. So you can't get mad at these kids for talking about guns and violence if every time you turn on the TV, whether it's comedic violence or gory violence, it's violence and sex. You could turn on the news and they're talking about stuff all the time. You could turn on a comedy and it's somebody getting shot. It's like, you can't really get mad at these kids for doing exactly what advertisement companies are doing. I see violence in commercials. Why am I demonizing these children for just making jokes? Who doesn't remember being a teenager with your friends saying crazy stuff? Now record it and tell you can make millions of dollars. Who's not gonna do that? If these were 26, 27-year-old kids who just came into music and started doing this, yeah, I could be slightly mad. If they were educated in all of this and then all of a sudden, violence, then I also counter it with how many movie directors at that age are doing that. It's part of our social belief, or I guess it's embedded in the structure of entertainment right now, that sex sells, violence sells, drugs sell. Like, it's even funnier to think about it with drugs, just because I'm like, out of everything, drugs, the one thing that you don't really have to sell, drugs sell themselves. Drug dealers aren't sitting up here having to market drugs to you. It's not like cereal or like a restaurant where they're spending thousands on marketing to you. They're like, I got drugs. Oh. So think of it like that. They know this makes money by saying these things. They're going to say these things. It's a lack of empathy, but at the same time, there's, why do you need to be empathetic in this situation? You're getting mad at an artist for saying something about art, but you won't get mad at political figures for saying the same thing.
This is WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. If your business enjoys the programming on WRUU-LP, please support the station with a donation. Let your customers, neighbors, and friends know that you share our vision of building a thriving economy based on a diverse and vibrant community. Our listeners will know you support Savannah's only broad-based community radio station. Become a tower sponsor or underwriter. To check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org/corporate. Again, to check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org/corporate. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUU-LP. You're listening to Music Local and Sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight, in the studio, we have Stephen Baumgartner, better known to local music fans as Basik Lee. Are there political figures who say racist things? Are there?
Yo, you've got to take that with a grain of salt when you look at these things. It's a whole story where they talk about NWA and their beginnings, and the one thing marketing companies realized when NWA came out, you have the president talking about these kids. So now these companies don't have to spend money on advertising. They just tell the kids to say wilder stuff. Why are you getting mad at these kids when there's people who are adults who are not guiding them? How are you getting mad at them when these other adults are profiting off of them? Can't really just blame the community if the community has always dealt with being systematically put into a situation. And here's a way out. Just sing, just rap, just dance. Don't talk about certain things though. Just keep it about the violence and all that, and then when we get mad, we'll just attack you for it and still profit off of you being attacked also.
I think your comparison of the criticism of those rap lyrics and lack of criticism or modified criticism of HBO for doing Game of Thrones, which contains similar amounts of sex violence.
Yeah, because that's considered entertaining. Nothing's wrong with that. This, something's wrong with it. Something must be wrong with these kids because they're doing this. It's not like they just woke up, started rapping, and the song came out. They had to go to a studio. Money had to be spent by somebody to get these on radio stations, advertising, mixing, engineering. Multiple things happened here before you heard it. Just like the movie you watched. Just like anything you go see. So If all of these hands had a hand in it and you're only blaming this one person, there's got to be a root to this. There's got to be more to this. It can't just be here. And also leads to another argument that goes on freedom of speech, all this other stuff. We can argue for hours and hours on these things. Like, there's a lot of rappers I don't agree with at all. But I'm not someone where I've heard this argument where they were like, well, they must not be hip-hop. I'm like, I'm not going to get into that argument. I'm not going to say they're not part of the culture. I'm going to say I don't like it, but there's a lot of things I don't like. I'm like, there's things people probably don't like that I do. It's nothing against it. It's just like, you're not supposed to like everything. It's like, that's impossible.
They may be reflecting their own cultures, too.
Yeah. They're reflecting what they came to, what they grew up with, whatever situations and things that they had to deal with or are dealing with. It's like, or aren't dealing with. They could just be just having fun. I'm like, it could be anything, but it's being open to let, hey, that's their thing. This is mine. We don't have to agree, and it's probably best that we always don't. It's just part of the whole and accepting it.
And I guess because it's a little bit more similar to some of the cultural experiences I've had, I really do like Eminem.
Yeah.
I really do like Macklemore and Lewis because it perhaps reflects my cultural background more.
Yeah, exactly. There are rappers I listen to that when I name them to other people, they're like, who? I just introduced a couple of friends to this group, Run the Jewels, with this dude Killer Mike and LP, and Killer Mike was campaigning for Bernie Sanders for the whole campaign. And if you listen to their raps, they are just a group. Like, Killer Mike is nobody new and LP is nobody new, but they've been doing this group Run the Jewels for the last couple of years and really pushing something different. When I present it to people, they're like, what is this? And it's something that spoke to me. Everybody's got artists that speak to them. I will say with hip-hop has always been about digging, though. Digging deeper than the surface. Even with the DJ, who really started the music, he had to dig to find the right stuff that would be popular. Before, it was about going to find that right DJ. That's kind of what's been the problem now with a lot of DJing and radio is, for example, the DJs on certain radio stations, they have their playlist that is going through every DJ station. So now, if all the DJs are getting the same playlist, then all the people who are wanting to start DJing at clubs are all getting the same playlist, so they're all playing the same thing. Instead of going out and finding what it is that is for your area, or what works with you, or in the whole, what speaks to the culture in your town.
Your music, I can see where you really like certain rap artists that really are socially conscious, because much of your music is so very socially conscious. But other aspects of it really are reaching down deep inside you and questioning yourself.
Yeah.
And how can I be better? I think Wake Up, for instance, is one of those.
I do that a lot. I try to look to myself and see first, what am I doing? It goes back to what my dad said, if you're gonna make a solution, it's better be for everybody. So I have to first think of myself. What am I doing wrong in this situation? Is there something I could improve on? And Wake Up was a song of me just realizing when I'm in a loop, when I'm just keeping myself in the loop. It's funny, a lot of my songs help me. They're really therapeutic for me. This is what you need to work on. I try to focus on the best me I can be with the music, because I said it to one of my friends. They were just looking at me like, I do what I do for somebody out there who's like me, knows that they're not alone. There's many times I've felt alone, and then I've done a song and somebody's like, oh man, I know what you mean. That's reassuring. It's so therapeutic to know you're not alone with your thoughts.
keep falling asleep. Oh, I keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. Like, oh, I keep falling asleep. Oh, I keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. Yo, I keep slipping in the darkness. Eyes closed and I slowly fall without a harness. My frozen time goes passing by my carcass. Slowly killing off the little light I'm trying to harness, making it hard to see. In reality, I'm the one that's making it hard to be. Person that I should all because of this part of me keeps telling me that I should chill and relax, take a nap instead of killing the track. Feel like I'm trapped inside myself, and I know I should find some help. Well, I guess I should just look in the mirror, see my enemy clearer, stare him dead in his eyes and say I dare you to bring the light back. Take time to ignite that flame that became the whole reason you write raps. Scream them loud to a crowd and hope that you find claps. Type of fake DJs wanna rewind that. Have you feeling running the system just like a spine tap? But I keep falling asleep. Oh, I keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. Like, oh, I keep falling asleep. Oh, I keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's like every day I get up and put on a straight jacket. It really pisses me off. I stick with the same habits, remain average. Instead of going above, hit with the same damage of having no one to love. But then complaints vanish from taking toast to the bud. Smoking what was a problem to me, hoping this does. Release it, but it doesn't. I speak it, but it mustn't become yours. So I keep it locked behind closed doors. With other ones at the heart of me, each artery pushes to each scene. Myself to blame it, how long I remain chilling in this dream. Could this mean finally starting to open my eyes, or give it a sight of a guy and like to get me close to my prize? Full awakening, taking in a more positive role, grabbing a hold of my life in hopes to take some control. With a chance to see if I could be that person that I plan to be. But there's a man sitting in my way, you said to say that man is me. Well, I keep falling asleep. Oh, keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's like, oh, I keep falling asleep. Oh, I keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's like, oh my Lord, keep falling asleep. I'm like, oh my Lord, keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's like, yo, my man, I keep falling asleep. Yo, partner, I keep falling asleep. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's like everything I need seems to fall at my feet. Don't really have to go far, cause it's all in my reach. Gotta put it all together so I could call it complete. But for some strange reason I keep falling asleep. It's like everything I need seems to fall in my feet. Don't really have to go far, cause it's all in my reach. Gotta put it all together so I could call it complete. But for some strange reason.
Was there anything that has happened in your life that really triggered that song, Wake Up?
Honestly, there was just a point where I was questioning a lot of stuff. I just looked up and been like, you're holding yourself back. Just realizing you keep coming up with excuses. You keep making up problems that you can get by.
And that self-exploration, that self-improvement is really part of both your rap, but also your, again, soul R&B music. And I jump immediately to one of my favorites of that, and that's Sight.
Yeah. That's with Britt Scott. That was a fun song to make. It's really wild because that whole album was made right after getting out of this relationship. It wasn't bad or anything. It was just a situation that we both had to step away from. And when I did, I literally made like 3 projects recorded in that time, and the album Found My Place was one of them. And the song Sight, it was just a song that I started and I wanted to write from 2 perspectives of you just talking to yourself and just that self coming back to you. But then I was like, I'm not gonna do this just by myself. So that's when I asked Britt Scott. I didn't even write her part. I gave her the bottom line, the idea, like, I want you to speak to me like this, and I want you to just go with whatever you feel. I wasn't even around. I went home, recorded my part, sent her the whole song, was just like, just fill in your part, and she'd send it back to me, and it was perfect.
That's amazing, because there's such a synergy between the two voices.
Yeah, it's like I've known Britt for a while. I've loved singing with her, and I love her voice. So as soon as I thought of this song, I was like, Britt, will you do this with me?
Excuse me, can you offer me some help? I'm a little lost right now. I'm trying to find myself. Can't pinpoint the day I lost my way between the hatred and the lies. I've been wearing a disguise, but I no longer wanna hide. So I start by showing you the truth. Take off this mask, reveal the man whose light has been removed. Oh yes, indeed, that's me. I hope you can believe, 'cause there's a part of myself that I know you haven't seen. Trust me, I know it's hard for you to see this part of me, but I need you to see. Yes, yes, I need you to see. Trust me, I know it's hard for you to see this part of me, but I need you to see. Yes, yes, I need you to see.
Believe me, I know it's hard to understand. Things don't always go as planned. Just do the best you can. Seize the day, you'll find your way between the truth and the signs. Listen to the guide speaking inside. It's been with you all the time. Repent for your mistakes. Forgive but don't forget the grace you gave and the clean slate beginning here today. Oh, you are not alone, and the weakness you have shown will take you down a righteous path like you have never known. And oh, be careful. This world is so lovely, but people may say it's ugly. Don't you see? Don't you see it? And
Trust me, I know it's hard for you to see this part of me, but I need you to say, yeah, I need you to say, trust me, I know it's hard
this
for
world
you
is
to
so lovely, but
this
people
part of
say it's
me.
ugly. Don't you see?
I need you to say, oh,
Don't you
I
see
need
it?
you to say, oh, trust me, I
Be
know
careful.
it's hard
This
for
world
you
is
to
so
see
lovely, but
this
people
part
may
of
say it's
me,
ugly. Don't
but
you
I
see it?
need you to say,
Oh,
oh,
don't you
I
see
need
it?
you to say.
So would you like to play something?
Yeah, love to. Eric Dunn from the Trainwrecks. He had this guitar that was given to him by an artist named Zaza Safour. One day, around the holidays, he just comes up to me with this case and he's like, "This is for you." It's been the greatest blessing I've had.
So this is the Eric Dunn gift.
Yes, indeed.
That was very generous.
Very, very. It's an absolutely amazing guitar. Like, just beautiful. Let's, like, play something with this?
Sure.
All right. Love it.
What do you call this number?
This one is one song written by me and Greg Reddick called "I Hate Myself Sometimes for Still Loving You."
It's taking me a while to get back my smile. Taking longer than I thought to shake off this pain. And even though you've hurt me in the past, somehow feelings for you still last. Don't understand how I can't get you out of my veins. So insane, oh, I hate myself sometimes for still loving you. Oh yes, it's true, I hate myself sometimes for still loving you. Mother said, son, listen up when it comes to loving such. Being in love and loving are two different things. And though your feelings for each other aren't the same, love for a good friend always remains. Think of the words at times that help explain how I feel this strain. Oh, I hate myself sometimes for still loving you. Oh yes, it's true, I hate myself sometimes for still loving you. Yes, it's true, I really do. I hate myself sometimes for still loving you. Oh yes, it's true, I hate myself sometimes. Oh, still loving you.
Now, what was the origin of that song? Is it autobiographical?
Yeah, it was a song as most songs happen after a breakup. Even though literally the breakup was bad, still having feelings for somebody and still caring for their well-being and just being, why do I still care about how you feel even though you hurt my feelings so bad?
Actually, just last night I was talking to a friend about a similar circumstance.
Yeah.
I may just copy this off and send it to them.
Yeah.
See, you're not the only one.
See, that's what I say. It's just like you find out these things when you put these things out there.
Yeah. What would music be without bad relationships?
Really boring. No.
Would you like to sing something else?
It's called In My Dreams.
Days gone by, I take time to look at the sky, watching night turn into light over and over again. Knowledge comes with age, my book of life adds a new day. Wonder sometimes when that book will come to its last page. Will it be dark and cold, or like my dreams when new life always unfolds? Oh, in my dreams, time knows no end. Can't recall where it all begins. I just fall and softly blend into beautiful. In my dreams, time knows no end. Can't recall where it all begins. I just fall and softly blend into beautiful. In my dreams, in my dreams, oh, my dreams. When I close my eyes, I see all types of amazing things, falling and flying and calling and shining just like the stars. And then I think, if this is what it'll be like after I lose this life, then I'll be alright. Falling and flying and calling and shining just like the stars. I wish upon wish, I hope and believe. But until then, my friends, I'll live my life as light and enjoy the joy that I see in my dreams. Time knows no end. Can't recall where it all began. I just fall and softly blend into beautiful. In my dreams, time knows no end. Can't recall where it all begins. I just fall and softly blend into beautiful. In my dreams, in my dreams, oh, my dreams.
Tonight in the studio we have had Stephen Baumgartner, better known locally as Basik Lee. Thank you so much for coming in. I've learned so much about both soul and rap.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Really do.
This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake. Save this time for another show next week.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the Hall of Fame. Gonna give it what we got, man, that ain't no shame. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1,